Hey guys, and welcome to Sammy Scrolls, where I tell you all about some of the best books out there. In this episode, we're looking at Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a heads up. Obviously, this book is quite controversial. There's a lot of people with a lot of very strong opinions about it, and it's hard to sort of do a review without having spoilers. So, there's probably going to be things in here that if you haven't read the book, I don't know, this might not be the best video to watch because I'm going to give my opinion on a lot of things that happened, and I don't know, I was really fortunate. Some of my friends and family had read this before I got the chance to, and they were really good about not giving me spoilers and sort of keeping their opinions on like big things that happen in the book to themselves so I could experience it for the first time with no prior knowledge. So yeah, if you haven't read the book yet and you're going to, maybe don't watch this video because I don't want anything to be ruined for you. And this is Toto, by the way. She's decided she's going to walk around while I'm trying to do this, so I'm holding on to her for a little bit. Hey pup! So, I guess if you're going to read this book, or you're going to read it, the best thing to do is to go into it not expecting it to be like a Harry Potter book. Which sounds really weird because it's Harry Potter. But if you go in with the expectation that it's going to be just as magical and mystical as the 7 books that we all know and love, you are probably going to be a little bit let down because it's a rehearsal script. It's not a book. This is not a novel. It's the script that the actors used and then went on stage and performed. Like, there are parts of the script where you can see Jo Rowling has put a little bit of her, I don't know, essence into it, I suppose. Like, the audience obviously weren't going to see, so there was no need for that sort of input, but when you're reading it as a script and then there's that little bit of a magical moment from Jo, that's pretty cool. But yeah, other than that, like, it is just a script, so... Alright, are you going? Toto's leaving us. You may hear her in the background, she's not going for a drink. But, yeah, because it's a script, you sort of got to use your imagination a bit more because in the other Potter books, obviously they are novels, and Jo is very descriptive and informative, and that's part of the reason that we love her work so much. But in this, it's supposed to be seen with a set and a background and people's faces and all that sort of stuff, so you've really got to use your imagination. And if you know the Potter books and you know the characters, it's not that difficult. Like, it starts at King's Cross during the epilogue at the end of the 7th book, end of the 8th movie, so they're on the platform and all of that stuff goes on, and then we move forward. And I don't know, a big thing that, I could be wrong, but just people in my world that I've discussed the book with, part of the reason they've sort of been annoyed is, here we go with spoilers, Albus gets sorted into Slytherin, and there is that thing at the start where it's like, what if I got sorted into Slytherin? And Harry does the whole, you've been named after 2 of the bravest wizards of all time, and one of them was a Slytherin, or words to that effect, you know what I mean. So yeah, he does end up in Slytherin, and you know, life kind of is hard for him because everyone else in that line has always been Gryffindor, and they continue to be Gryffindor after him. So for him to be the one Slytherin, it's a bit difficult for him, and I think Harry's embarrassed by it. He tries not to be, but yeah, there's a lot of tension between father and son there. As you know from the original books, Draco and Harry don't get along, and Draco and Harry's sons are actually best friends, which I thought was quite poetic. I enjoyed the fact that their fathers hated each other and they absolutely adore one another, so that was sweet. But another big thing that I got a lot of feedback on from people after I read the book was they sort of felt like the characters weren't the characters anymore, like that Harry was doing things that Harry Potter wouldn't have done, and just like the way that he says things or the way that he speaks to people, and same with the other characters, that it was just out of character for them. And this might be an unpopular opinion, but I tend to disagree. That was one of the biggest things that I enjoyed about the book, was seeing, I guess, seeing the real Harry in a way, because when we meet him in the books, he's this 11-year-old little baby that is thrust into this world that's beyond his wildest imagination. He doesn't even get time to settle in, and he finds out that he's famous, and one of the most powerful wizards of all time is trying to kill him. So that's sort of his priority, and that's a obviously seriously traumatizing event. So this is, forgive me, 30 years later or something like that, I think. I don't know, I did just read the book, but I finished it probably 2 weeks ago, and there's been a lot that's gone on since then, so it's all a bit fuzzy on the actual details, but it's a long time after. I mean, he's grown up, he's married, he's got children that are of age to go to Hogwarts, so, it's a while. Anyway, enough time has passed that Harry's had time to think about his childhood and his adolescence and his, early adulthood, and he's had time to process what happened throughout all of those times. So he's come to terms with the neglect and abuse that he witnessed and was victim of via the Dursleys, and then to go to Hogwarts. And I mean, imagine being 11 and having your entire world turned upside down. Like, when I was 11, I moved from Ireland to Australia, which is nothing in comparison to Harry, but having my life turned upside down that way was enough to, having an impact. Obviously not traumatized or anything crazy like that, but it was a massive change, and it definitely had an effect on who I became, to go from knowing my little world to all of a sudden being taken to the other side of the world. Harry's was like 1,000 times more than that. He went from living this awful life to being part of this magical world, and then finding out it's not all it was cracked up to be, and there's someone coming to kill him. So how do you deal with that when you're 11 years old? And then come face to face in the span of, 10 months of finding out that he's a wizard, finding out who his parents are and who he really is. And then he comes face to face with the person that killed his parents, and they tried to kill him. And then it just keeps happening over the next 7 years. Like, it's crazy. That's obviously going to do some damage. And here we have middle-aged Harry, and he's not the person that he was before. He is traumatized, he is damaged, and he doesn't always do the best thing. He's living still under this shadow of his name, that he's the boy who lived and all this stuff. And yeah, I thought it was just amazing to see that he went from being this strong young boy when he had to be, and now he's this broken man that's scrambling, trying to figure out what he's doing. It just makes him more human. I don't know what I'm trying to say. It was an intense thing to see, like, strong young Harry with his sense of humour and took it all in his stride, and then adult Harry has had time to look at it all, and his scar starts hurting again, and he panics. Whereas when his scar starts hurting when he was a youngster, he obviously got a bit frightened, but, he stepped up, and he does step up as an adult as well, but to see that fear and him, like, be transported back and thinking that nightmare was over, and then feeling like it's not, I don't know, I thought it was cool, like, because I'm not going to be the same person I am now in 30 years, so I just thought it strange that so many people expected Harry to be the same person. Maybe it is I have an interest in psychology, I'm studying psychology, so I just thought he was pretty much textbook PTSD, so to see how he copes with it, and even though he has all these demons and all of these scars from what he had to go through in life, he still steps up. He mucks up a lot, but he's not, like, ashamed to admit it, and he wants to make it right. But then it seems to be, as a result of everything that's happened to him, he's not been the best father for Albus. James, he seems to get along with and understand, and his daughter he's fine with. But for some reason Albus, he just can't relate, and so Albus is the butt of a lot of things, and he does say some really inappropriate things to him and then realizes that's not acceptable to say to a child. So to see that, I guess, the cursed child is suffering because his father is this great person and he doesn't think so, fair enough. There's just so many elements of it that it's just fascinating to think, how did they get here and what's really going on in their head. And I really would love it to be a novel, to be able to dive in more to that side of things, to know exactly what Albus is thinking or feeling at a moment rather than just hearing his words. I'm rambling, but that's the thing I loved most about this book, was the psychology behind it. To see what traumatic events do to someone as revered as Harry Potter. You know, he's not real, but you know what I mean. Like, I know, I just thought it was fascinating, and it was such a clever storyline too. I mean, it really ties back to the books, and we visit times within the books, and I mean, Cedric was involved, so I was like, Hufflepuff? I'm not wearing anything Hufflepuff. I probably should have one of those days. But I just thought it was so clever, and I sort of understand why people are mad about it, but I don't get why it gets so much hate. Because I think hats off to Jo. Like, she's had this little boy grow up and she's written his whole story, and then I just got to try and figure out who he is as a man without writing all the in-between. And there's moments in this book that go back to the actual Harry Potter series, and there's one that it actually gave me a fright. Like, I got goosebumps from what was happening, and I hope it comes to Brisbane at some point, because that one moment I would love to see on stage. Just, so good. So, I don't know, there's not much of a review. It's such a controversial topic that it's hard to be like blasé about this book or just give it a general normal review, because obviously if you've, I don't know, known me in real life under any sort of circumstance, you know that I'm obsessed with Harry Potter. And I don't use that word lightly. Like, I'm obsessed with Harry Potter. So I have so many thoughts on this and so many opinions, and it's just such a good book. I don't know. And a lot of my Potter friends do not agree at all, and they're annoyed that I like it, which I find amusing. But I don't know, it was just so cool to see who Harry became, and in ways it was heartbreaking, but it was totally understandable. And then to see him still fighting and redeeming himself, hats off to him. Like, fair play, all that stuff that he went through, like, insane that he then, life goes forward and this happens. Someone was telling me, I cannot remember who I was having this conversation with, but apparently this isn't canon. Is that true? Because I thought it was, and I think it's fair enough that this is where Harry and his life are at this point. I mean, he's not probably the Harry everybody wanted him to be all the time, but then who is? Nobody's perfect, and he's allowed to not be the best father in the world. He's trying. It's not like he had anyone to look up to. He grew up under Vernon Dursley, for goodness sake. The fact that his children aren't completely messed up, that's solid effort. He didn't have anybody. No mum, no dad. And these abusive aunt and uncle that... Ugh, don't even get me started. So for him to have 3 kids that are doing pretty damn well, Albus, he sure has his struggles. But you know, he's healthy, he's reasonably happy. It could have been worse. I don't know. What do you guys think? I am just rambling. I just love this book so much. And to have Hufflepuff represented again, that's pretty cool, because we were fairly quiet in the original series. We got Cedric was our character, obviously, and so for there to be a sequel of sorts, and for Cedric to be involved, it was like, yeah, Hufflepuff are still there. We're like the Forgotten House. I mean, when Fantastic Beasts came out, then it was suddenly cool to be a Hufflepuff. But yeah, there wasn't a lot for us in the original books, and then we got Fantastic Beasts and everybody just jumped on board, which was great. I'm all happy about Puff Pride. But for there to actually be a full-on sequel, and we've got a strong representation in it, Yeah. And I'm not a house sister or anything, I'm just very proud to be a Hufflepuff. But I think I'm gonna go because I've been recording for a quarter of an hour and I've just rambled. So yeah, if you've got thoughts on this book, please let me know because I absolutely love Harry Potter and I'd love to know what you think of it. Am I the only one that likes it? I've never actually met anyone who actually enjoyed it. Everyone tells me not to read it, it's awful and it'll make me never want to read Harry Potter ever again. So I'd love to know what other people think of it. If you did like it, let me know why. If you didn't, let me know why. If you've seen the play, was it amazing? I can't even imagine. But yeah, if you've seen the play, I'm so jealous. Please tell me everything. I don't think you're allowed to take photos, but if you were, oh my gosh, send me photos, please. Thank you. Alright, I'm gonna go. I've said it a heap of times, but I'm actually doing it this time. Thank you so much for watching. Yeah, if you've got any books you want me to read or you've got any opinions on the one I've just finished, let me know in the comments, and take care till I see you next time. Bye!